Yeah, so I started in photography way back in 2005, 2006, and I actually started with digital cameras. So it was kind of the beginning of, or the early years of digital photography at that time. And like everybody, I got my hands on a relatively cheap digital camera. Just straight away got really excited about the possibilities of this. You just took to it very, very quickly. I was living in Brussels up to 2006, and then I moved to Paris. It was kind of an interesting time for me. I was moving around quite a lot, and I was using photography at the time to discover those cities, so to discover Brussels. And then when I moved to Paris, I started going out and shooting kind of every weekend, like every Saturday and Sunday. And then it started getting to the point where I'd be sort of shooting after work during the week, and it was growing from, basically from a hobby to, almost, by maybe 2009 or so, to the point of kind of an obsession of trying to constantly improve to get better. And I then realized it was something that I really wanted to pursue, but I had no idea how to do it. I had a full-time job. I just wanted to figure out whether I needed to keep that job, or whether I needed to go back and study, or whether I needed to, completely stop and start up a business. So what I decided to do was go back and study and do an MA in photography in the UK. And so after quite a lot of research, I found a school in Wales, a documentary photography school. And one of the main things I knew about it at the time was that they had dark rooms. One of the last colleges with dark rooms in the UK, and that sounded very interesting. And then I started looking at some of the graduate work, and I was really excited by that. And I saw a show by a Magnum photographer called Mark Power in Poland, actually, in Krakow. And he is actually he was the external examiner at Newport, was the name of the school, University of Wales, Newport. And so I was really excited about that. Actually, we never actually saw him. He was the external examiner, so he just came in and checked the papers. But just even the fact that his name was associated with it seemed like a good thing at the time. And yeah, so got into that course, and it was a 2-year course. I guess that course was really a way of entering the world. That's what it was for me. That's what I wanted to do. This would give me a certain amount of time to figure it out, and would open doors, essentially. This kind of academic side of crits and coming in and working a project through and researching a work, that was really interesting for me. My undergrad was politics and economics, so I've always had an interest in current affairs, and I'd actually done a little bit of work at the European Commission before that. So I was that's the direction I was hoping to go in. When I came to photography, that kind of threw me off that path completely, but I soon realized that you could still apply this, what I'd done before, through documentary photography, where you can express kind of complex, kind of political or social ideas through project work in a very kind of subtle way. So, like for me, that doing that course is just as much part of my work as the MA. Inner field is, I guess it's my third body of work. So my first two were made in France, so that was Contours and 50 High Seasons. And they're kind of, I finished shooting both of those, but they're kind of ongoing in that they haven't been made into a book yet. So I'm still in the process of publishing 50 High Seasons, in fact. But at the same time, when I moved back to Dublin in 2012, and from there, since then I've been working on a new body of work in Dublin called Inner Field, and so Inner Field in many ways is kind of a reaction to those first two projects, which were very much documentary projects, and very clearly about something and about ideas. And Inner Field is a much more less explicit body of work. It's more about creating a feeling and not particularly answering questions, more like just asking the questions, basically, and a lot less literal. So it's a kind of it's an ongoing editing process. I'm constantly shooting and I'm putting edits together, and then I'm just seeing what that's saying. And in many ways, one of the main things I'm trying to do is play with different visual representations of Ireland. So whether it be the post-crisis Ireland, you know, the housing crisis, the ghost estates, whether it be, you know, the idea that tourists have, the Dublin that we like to represent externally, you know, all those ideas, and trying to kind of contort it a little bit and make something that makes you know it's you're not sure it's Dublin, but at the same time maybe it is Dublin. So I'm kind of starting from that point and giving myself a really wide remit, and then once I'm finished, which would be, I guess, maybe another year or two, building something out of the edit and building a narrative out of the edit and trying to say something original or different about the city. And in fact, in many ways, it might become, as it evolves, it becomes kind of less and less about Dublin, and maybe kind of is turning into something with Dublin as a backdrop, and maybe an almost completely fictional place. But it's an exciting body of work because because I've left myself so many options. I can go anywhere with it, and I think that's a really good way to work. With this one, the way I'm shooting is slightly different. I'm using a lot more flash and mixing up cameras and things like that. So I submitted the work to the New Irish Works, project last year, and got in. And as part of that, you get all the winners, or all the selected artists get a show here at the Library Project. So 2 artists show together, and so my work is being shown at the moment for 2 weeks, and it's basically a short edit I've put together of Inner Field, and it's kind of a teaser for the eventual book. But it was a good process in that it allowed me to put together quite a definitive, well, relatively definitive edit, and then I could start go off and shoot again, you know. So it's like almost a comma before I go to the. It's good to have that, I think.